What is a big lie that everyone believes?
You must drink 8 glasses of water a day. Hydration depends on your body, diet and climate, not a fixed number.
If you're honest, people will always respect you. Honesty was drilled into me as the most important trait. Teachers said it, parents said it, even movies said it. I believed it. I told the truth even when it hurt me. I admitted mistakes. I confessed failures. I thought honesty would earn respect, but reality was harsher. I remember one job interview where I admitted I lacked certain skills. The interviewer smiled politely, then rejected me meanwhile. A friend exaggerated his abilities and got hired. The lie hurt because it made me feel punished for being truthful. I remember confessing to a teacher that I hadn't finished an assignment, hoping for understanding. Instead, I got detention meanwhile. Classmates who lied got away with it. The truth is, honesty is valuable, but it doesn't guarantee respect. It guarantees vulnerability. Respect comes from confidence, not just truth. I eventually learned to balance honesty with strategy. I still tell the truth, but I don't reveal everything. The lie is dangerous because it convinces people to expose themselves without protection. It makes them think honesty alone is strength, but honesty without wisdom is weakness. I now see honesty as a tool, not a shield. The lie oversimplifies. The truth is more complex.
If you lock your door with 2 turns, burglars can't break in. My neighbor believed this for years until his apartment was robbed, despite triple locks.
You should always follow the rules, because rules are made to protect you. When I was younger, teachers drilled this into us every single day. I believed that if I just followed every rule, life would be safe and fair. I remember standing in line quietly, never questioning authority, never breaking a single classroom policy. But as I grew older, I realized rules aren't always about safety. Sometimes they're about control. At my first job, I followed every procedure exactly. While others bent the rules to get ahead, they were rewarded. I was ignored. The lie hurt because it made me believe obedience was the same as success. I remember one situation where a manager told me to wait for approval before acting. I waited, and the project failed because approval never came. Meanwhile, a colleague ignored either rule, acted quickly, and was praised. That moment shattered my belief. Rules can protect, but they can also trap. The truth is, rules are written by people, and people make mistakes. Blind obedience doesn't guarantee safety. It often guarantees stagnation. I now see rules as guidelines, not absolute truths. The lie is dangerous because it convinces people to stay passive. It makes them think questioning authority is wrong. But sometimes questioning is the only way forward.
Hard work always guarantees success. My father used to tell me that if I just worked harder than everyone else, I would eventually be rewarded. I believed this all through school and into my first jobs, where I constantly put in extra hours. But I watched colleagues who barely did the minimum get promoted because they had connections. After years of exhaustion, I realized that effort alone doesn't guarantee anything. Success often depends on luck, timing, and who you know. It was a painful truth to accept, because it made me feel like my sacrifices were wasted.
Sugar makes kids hyper. My mom banned candy at every birthday party, insisting it turned children into maniacs. I grew up thinking sugar was basically a drug. I remember sitting at parties watching other kids eat cake while I was given fruit, feeling embarrassed and left out. Teachers repeated the same warning, saying sugar would make us uncontrollable later. I read studies showing there's no scientific link between sugar and hyperactivity. What actually happens is kids get excited at parties, and parents blame the candy. I felt cheated because I missed out on enjoying sweets as a kid. The worst part was realizing how deeply this lie shaped my childhood. I remember sneaking candy once and waiting for the hyper effect, but nothing happened. I just felt normal. I realized the excitement came from being with friends, not from sugar. As an adult, I laugh at how gullible I was, but I also feel angry that adults spread fear instead of truth. This lie made me feel different and ashamed for no reason. It also made me distrust other health rules. I was taught, if parents can be wrong about sugar, what else are they wrong about? The truth is, moderation matters, but sugar isn't the monster it was made out to be. The lie shows how myths can shape entire childhoods, leaving scars long after the candy is gone.
Money can't buy happiness. I grew up poor, and people always told me that happiness comes from family and love, not money. But when I finally started earning enough to pay rent comfortably and buy decent food, my stress levels dropped dramatically. Suddenly, I could afford small luxuries like traveling or fixing my car without panic. Of course, money doesn't solve every problem, but it absolutely makes life easier. The lie is pretending financial stability doesn't matter. Happiness might not be for sale, but peace of mind often is.
Marriage automatically makes you happy. My parents always said that once you find a spouse, life becomes easier and happier. I rushed into marriage believing it would fix my loneliness. At first, it felt magical, like I'd finally achieved the dream everyone talked about. But soon, reality set in. Marriage magnifies existing problems if you don't work on yourself first. We fought constantly, and the stress was worse than being single. I realized marriage isn't a cure, it's a mirror. It reflects your strengths and weaknesses. The lie is thinking marriage is a magic solution. Happiness comes from self-growth, not just a ring on your finger. I remember crying after arguments, wondering why marriage didn't fix me. I felt betrayed by the promise that love solves everything. The truth is, love helps. But it doesn't erase personal struggles. Marriage can be wonderful, but only if both people are ready. The lie hurts because it pressures people into rushing. It makes them think they're failures if they're single. I now see marriage as a choice, not a guarantee. The saddest part is watching friends repeat the same mistake. They marry too soon, expecting happiness, and end up miserable. The myth is powerful because it's tied to culture and tradition. But happiness isn't automatic, it's built.
You need to buy expensive brands to get quality. Growing up, I thought only branded clothes and shoes were worth wearing. Advertisements and peers convinced me that cheap items would fall apart instantly. But when I started living on my own, I bought budget shoes that lasted longer than the branded ones. It shocked me how much of the quality was just marketing. The lie made me waste money for years, chasing logos instead of durability. Now I realize comfort and practicality matter more than a name tag.
Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I used to force myself to eat cereal every morning. Even when I wasn't hungry, teachers, doctors, and ads all said skipping breakfast was unhealthy. Later I learned this idea was pushed by cereal companies in the 20th century to sell more products. When I stopped eating breakfast, I actually felt better and had more energy. It shocked me how deeply marketing can shape what we believe about health. The worst part is realizing how many people still repeat this without questioning it.
You can be anything you want if you just believe. This was the ultimate childhood mantra. Teachers told us we could be astronauts, presidents, movie stars, anything. I believed it. I dreamed big. I wanted to be a writer, a musician, a scientist all at once. But as I grew older, reality hit. Belief alone doesn't pay rent, doesn't open doors, doesn't erase systemic barriers. I remember auditioning for Guy Sight of Music and being rejected, not because I wasn't good, but because thousands of others were better. The lie hurt because it made me feel like failure was my fault, like I didn't believe hard enough. The truth is, you can't be anything. You can be something if you work, if you adapt, if you accept limits. I eventually found joy in writing, not because belief made it happen, but because persistence did. The lie is cruel because it sets impossible expectations. It makes kids think they're broken when dreams don't come true. I now tell myself, you can't be anything, but you can be something meaningful. And that's enough. Dreams aren't magic. They're choices, and choices require sacrifice. The lie sounds inspiring, but it's misleading. Reality is harder, but also more honest.
College is the only path to a good life. Growing up, teachers and parents drilled into us that without a degree, we'd end up failures. I went to university, took out massive loans, and graduated with honours, but the job market didn't care. I ended up working retail for years, drowning in debt. Meanwhile, my friend who skipped college started a small business, and now earns more than I ever did. The Dapley isn't that education is useless, but that it's the only way forward. It left me feeling betrayed by a system that promised security but delivered stress.
Hard work always pays off. I grew up watching my father work 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week. He believed in the mantra that hard work always leads to success. He never complained, never took shortcuts, and always told me that effort was the most important thing in life. I carried that belief with me through school, staying up late to study, sacrificing weekends, and even skipping social events. I thought my dedication would guarantee me a bright future. But reality was different. I graduated with honours, yet I struggled to find a decent job. Meanwhile, classmates who barely tried but had family connections landed comfortable positions. I remember one painful moment when I worked overtime for weeks on a project, only to see my manager give credit to someone else. That broke me. I realised effort alone doesn't guarantee recognition. The lie is dangerous because it convinces people to suffer silently, believing patience will reward them. But patience without visibility often leads to invisibility. I eventually learned that success is a mix of effort, networking, and sometimes sheer luck. I still believe in hard work, but I no longer believe it's enough. The truth is, you need to show your work, demand recognition, and sometimes fight for opportunities. Otherwise, your sacrifices will go unnoticed. My father never got promoted despite decades of loyalty. That taught me the harsh reality. Hard work is necessary, but not sufficient. The lie hurts because it makes people blame themselves when the system fails them. And that's why I'll never repeat it to anyone again.
Natural products are always safe, my aunt swore by herbal remedies and told me chemicals were dangerous. I once tried a natural detox tea she recommended, and it made me sick for days. Later, I learned that many plants can be toxic if misused. The word natural doesn't mean harmless. Arsenic is natural too. The lie is dangerous because people trust it blindly. I realised science and testing are more reliable than marketing buzzwords. What shocked me most was how many companies exploit this belief, slapping organic or natural labels on products to charge double. I even saw friends refuse life-saving medicine because they thought herbs were safer. That's when I understood this lie isn't just silly, it can be deadly. It's a reminder that nature can heal, but it can also kill. and blind faith, in the word natural, is reckless.
Time heals all wounds. When my grandmother passed away, people kept repeating this phrase to me. They said, just wait, and the pain will fade. I believed them. I thought grief was like a broken bone, painful at first, but eventually healed by time alone. For months I waited. I counted days, then weeks, then years, hoping the ache would disappear. But it didn't. The grief softened, but it never vanished. I remember sitting alone on her birthday, crying, wondering why time hadn't healed me yet. I felt broken, like I was failing at grief. The lie hurt because it made me think I wasn't normal. It made me believe I was doing something wrong by still feeling pain. I remember friends telling me to move on, as if time had already done its job. But I couldn't. The truth is, wounds don't heal just because the calendar moves forward. They heal when you work through them. I eventually found peace not through time, but through effort. I started writing letters to her, sharing stories, keeping her memory alive. I talked to family. I allowed myself to cry. I allowed myself to feel. That gave me comfort. Not because time erased the pain, but because I created meaning. Time didn't heal me. I healed myself. The phrase time heals all wounds is comforting. But it's false. It convinces people to wait instead of act. It makes them passive. It makes them think healing is automatic, but healing is a choice, a process, a struggle. I now tell people the truth. Time doesn't heal. It only gives space. What you do in that space matters. You can choose to ignore pain, or you can choose to face it. The lie is dangerous because it makes people feel guilty for still hurting. The truth is, pain doesn't vanish. It transforms. It becomes part of you. It shapes you. It teaches you. And that's okay. Healing isn't about forgetting. It's about learning to live with the memory. Time helps, but it doesn't heal. Only you can do that.
If you swallow gum, it stays in your stomach for 7 years. As a child, I was terrified whenever I accidentally swallowed gum. I imagined it sticking inside me like glue, building up year after year. Teachers and parents repeated this lie so often that it felt like a scientific fact. Only as an adult did I learn gum passes through the digestive system like anything else. I laughed at how gullible I was, but also felt angry that adults spread fear instead of truth. It's a harmless myth, but it shows how easily misinformation spreads.
Good things come to those who wait. I grew up hearing this phrase from teachers, parents, even motivational speakers. It sounded wise, like patience was the secret to success. I believed it. I waited for recognition in school. I waited for promotions at work. I waited for love to magically appear. I thought time alone would deliver, but waiting didn't bring anything. I remember sitting in an office for years, hoping my manager would notice my efforts. He didn't. Meanwhile, co-workers who asked for raises got them. The lie is dangerous because it convinces people to stay passive. It makes them think patience is enough. I remember one painful moment when I missed a chance to apply for a scholarship because I thought, if it's meant to be, it will happen. It didn't. That moment taught me patience without option is just regret. The truth is, good things don't come to those who wait. They come to those who act. I eventually learned to ask, to demand, to move. It felt uncomfortable, but it worked. I got opportunities not because I waited, but because I chased them. I remember the first time I asked directly for a raise, my hands shook. But my manager said yes. That moment changed me. The lie hurts because it makes people waste years, believing time is magic. Time isn't magic. It's a tool. And tools only work if you use them. Now I still value patience, but only when paired with effort. Waiting can be wise, but only if you're preparing, not just hoping. The truth is harsher. but also more freeing. Good things don't come to those who wait. They come to those who act. And that's a lesson I'll never forget.